Hi, students. It's Dr. B. It's December 8th, 2021, and I'm going to run through some questions on the extra problem set for research. Sorry, I'm moving my papers around. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to open 23 Dominicans, or whatever that file is called. Let's find that. All right. Extra practice for practical exam is, so okay, the name of the file that we are working the exercises is Extra Practice for Practical Exam, JASP 2020 Update Questions.docx. And the data are cleaned up 23 Dominicans only. So the original data had some Puerto Ricans. I took them out. That's why it's called Cleaned Up Dominicans Only, and there are 23 of them. Okay, so open with JASP. By now you should know how to do that. So I just clicked on the file. I'm clicking on Open with JASP. Let me share my screen. Once JASP comes open. I'll just share my whole screen. Come on, JASP. So there's 23 Dominicans. Let's try it one more time. I don't know why it didn't open. There we go. Open with JASP. Come on, Google. Oh, now it's thinking about it. Oh, there it is. I'm sure it'll open twice now. Okay. Here we go. Loading the data set. I guess I should have done that. I wanted you to see me do it, but I guess I should have done this. I guess we'll have to. Okay. So clicking on the little triangle to see the data. So we have number, and the numbers are Dominican 12001. Okay, so I guess I collected these data in 2012. You have my slides from when I gave a little preliminary talk on these data. And we go all the way down, hopefully to 32. I don't know why you're being so difficult. Okay, can't. Let me move you. You're in my way. Okay. I don't know why I'm having all this trouble making it look harder than it is, you guys. Okay, to make it full screen, that was, oh, 23, not 32, 23 Dominicans. Well, there you go. We have 23 Dominicans. Okay. Good. All right, that makes me feel better. Thought I was losing my mind. So we have the fast raw score. Notice I called it fast raw 468 because I was never going to remember there were 468 of them. I was going to say there were 486 of them, 642 of them, so I put it in the name. So this person got 400, person number 2, DM 12002, got 420 out of 468 and 441 out of the clear speech, right? Person number 1 got 421 and 438. So not that different. I also have the percent numbers here. I guess there was some number, for some reason I wanted to look at them in percents. So to convert it for percents, I just divided it into 100, right? Then I have their scores on the Versant test, the overall score. So the Versant test is a telephone test of talking and listening. They ask all kinds of questions the person has to respond, right? So we have an overall score, a sentence mastery, vocabulary, fluency, pronunciation. And then this was, if you're Dominican, you get a 1. If you're American English, you get a 0. So everybody in here is Dominican, so everybody has a 1. So we really don't even need that. Age now, LOR is length of residence, not residence, length of residence, and AOA, age of arrival. right? Because we know that arriving earlier is better for your language development than arriving late, at least certainly for pronunciation and stuff like that. Okay, so now let's look at our question. Now we've looked at the data. Always got to look at the data first. Now let's look at our extra practice. Okay, here we go. You should still be able to see this because I shared the whole screen. You can read this review of it on your own, and you have my slides from when I gave the talk. As I said, question 1, I wonder if the people who scored high on the fast task also scored high on the pronunciation task. So if being able to listen to fast speech has something to do with being a good pronouncer. So sort of a correlation between listening and speaking. Well, that's kind of a cool question, no matter how it comes out, right? So is that a correlation or two groups? Well, for each person, I'm asking how'd they do on the one thing, how'd they do on the other thing. So it's two things about one person, and they're not the same thing. It's not like aspirin dose 1, aspirin dose 2, take their blood pressure, right? It's two different things, but about the same person. So I think it makes most sense to think of it as a correlation. I hope that that is agreeing with your brain. So let's do a correlation. So in order to do a correlation, I'm looking across the top row, descriptives, t-tests, ANOVA, mixed model, regression. Well, so if we look at the picture of regression, that looks most like the correlation stuff we've been doing. So that's a little hint to you to grab that. Okay, and oops, sorry, I'm just moving the meeting. Okay, so we have classical or Bayesian. So we're going to use classical, right? And we're going to use correlation. Linear regression is really this, whatever. We're not going there. None of you are doing a linear regression, I don't think. And logistic regression is mostly for yes/no questions. If you need that for your project, we'll deal with that individually when we meet. But you're really only using correlation right now. We can't learn everything all the time. Okay, so correlation. So what were the two things we were going to correlate? Just to remind you, we were going to correlate here. Let's make this wider. There we go. We were going to correlate the fast task and the pronunciation task. Okay, easy enough. So, oh, I see I opened it twice. Oh, see that? Let's close out one of these. It doesn't matter which one. Okay. Because we haven't done anything yet. Okay, so I'm going to, the fast task, I'm going to collaborate. I'm going to correlate with the pronouncing. Here it is, pronunciation. And I'm going to, I only have 32. 32, but they're scores. So, okay, so we'll go with a Pearson's. No, I only have 23. 23, that's too small. I don't know why I keep saying 32. We had 32 in some other example. I'm going to use Spearman's row because 23 is really small. And I'm going to click display pairwise. And my hypothesis is that they're correlated. I could also say that they're correlated positively, but we'll just go with correlated. And I'm going to get a scatter plot because that's the graph we're used to looking at. And that's it. Assumption checks. There really are no assumption checks, I don't think, with Spearman's row. So we don't really need to look at that. Okay. So now let's see what happened over here. Oh, these meeting controls are annoying me. Okay. So Spearman correlation between the fast raw score and the pronunciation gave us a Spearman's row of 0.865, probability less than 0.001. So probability less than 0.001 shows us that we can trust our result as being statistically important. And 0.865 is Close to 1 or close to 0? Close to 1, right? It's 86.5 cents, close to $1, more than 75 cents. So if we look on our chart, oh, I guess I should open that chart. Flow, cheat sheet from Brooks, flow chart, reporting out your statistical tests. All right, let's look at reporting out your statistical tests. I bet it's in there. For comparing two or more groups, here we go. For telling about correlations, mom's age and dad's age are strongly correlated. We wanted to know if thing 1 and thing 2 were correlated. Okay, so we wanted to know if the 23 Dominicans who scored high on fast sentence listening were also high on pronunciation, because if the production and perception are linked, right? So first we graphed the data, which we just did, and we ran Pearson R or Spearman Rowe. We chose Spearman Rowe because we wanted, because we only had 23, to test the strength of the correlation. It was Rowe equals 0.865, right? And probability less than 0.001. That means there is a 0.865 high correlation, not very high, right? A high positive correlation. So we would show, let's go back to JASP. We would show this graph here. And what I would do is I would take this graph and just copy it into PowerPoint or whatever slide, Google Slides, whatever you're using, and then make a little text box using Google Slides or PowerPoint. Make a little text box, and in the little text box, I would put Row equals 0.865, P less than 0.001. And then when you talk through the graph, you can say, look, these people who had low score on pronunciation also had low score on being able to hear the final consonants in the fast sentences, right? Remember, I say sip positively, I say sit positively, but when you're speaking fast, you don't say it like that, right? And yeah, I mean, 0.865, that's a really high correlation. So in other words, rather than give you the Versant test, I could give you my fast sentences, and depending how you do on my fast sentences, which cost $0, I pretty much know how good your pronunciation skills are, because they're highly correlated. Not very highly, but they're highly correlated. So that's kind of a cool thing. I really need to get back to this research, because this is a great question. Okay, so looking at our question one more time. No, not reporting out. Wait, hang on. Extra practice. So this is question 1 on the extra practice. I wonder if the people who scored high on the fast task also scored high on the pronunciation task. Get a graph, we got a scatter plot. And a statistic, we got a row. And the answer is, yeah, 0.86%. 0.865 was the correlation coefficient. So if I know how you did on the one, I like 85% know how you did on the other, right? It's not 100%. Most things in life aren't, right? But I can kind of guess if I know one, I can kind of guess how you did on the other. If you did high on one, you did high on the other. You did low on one, you did low on the other. That's pretty great. Okay, that's the end of question 1. Stopping the video. If I can find the button. Please hold while we find the button. Oh, here we go. Stop recording. All right. I know question 1 was a little rough because I'm kind of getting in my groove. Question 2 and onwards will be better, but I'm going to make a separate recording for each question so that you can only watch the ones that are difficult for you. Okay. Stop recording.